this module. Now, man, we've done a lot of work, and it has probably seemed pretty simple because of the way I gave you the process maps and the flowcharts. We have created your goodwill milestone sequence to genuinely help people. We structured it so you can pitch multiple times without seeming salesy and uncool, and we've built the pages and made that little delay to buy button. So we have multiple chances to sell, each coming from a different viewpoint of benevolent, helpful goodwill. So how do we tie all of this together and put it in place? Well, let me map it out for you on the fancy whiteboard here. Okay, so essentially your goodwill campaign is going to comprise of 3 elements. Element number 1 is something called your reminder sequence. This is a series of emails which is simply designed to get them to begin the milestone sequence. Right? And the third component of this is something called a terminator. The terminator is an action that they take which causes all of this other stuff to stop so we don't bother them. So let me explain how it works. Your reminder sequence essentially is a series of 3 emails that says, hey, I made this video for you and I hope you enjoy it. You can go watch it here. Right? So let me draw it out for you, sort of process map style, and how this will all fit together. So they go, you send reminder email number 1, right? You can send this the day after they opt in. You can send it at any time in the life cycle of this prospect, this campaign. There's something that's evergreen. You could deploy it as a sales mechanism. You can have it built into your autoresponder sequence. It doesn't matter, right? So on day 1, you send reminder email number 1. It says, hey, I made this video for you. It's about XYZ. You can go watch it here. Hope you enjoy it, right? Now, if they click to go, put a little click here. If they click here and go watch milestone video number 1, they're not going to get the second reminder email, right? And we're going to program the system to stop the reminder sequence as soon as they click milestone video number 1. We'll stop the reminder sequence and we will begin the milestone sequence, right? So upon clicking either of these guys, right, any of these 3 reminder emails, they will automatically be removed from the reminder sequence and placed in the milestone sequence. So what is the milestone sequence? Well, simple. Day 1 of the milestone sequence, they go and they click, so they're watching the video. 24 hours after this click occurs, you deploy an email that sends them the second milestone video, right? Now, if they haven't clicked ever, if they've never clicked to go see milestone video number 1, they're not getting milestone number 2. Right? And if they haven't clicked after day 3 of your reminder sequence, we're putting in them another sequence. So we're never bombarding people. This is all dynamically, behaviorally generated. The only way they can see your milestones is if they respond to your friendly invitation to receive good content from you, right? So on day number 2, they get milestone number 2. Only the people who have clicked one of these 3. Day number 3, they get milestone number 3, ad infinitum, etc. Right? I like a good milestone series to be 3 or 4. I think that's plenty. Now, what does every milestone video do? It pitches, right? So at the end of each video, they have an opportunity to buy. Okay, now if they buy, that is the third component. That's called the terminating action. So if they buy, immediately upon buying, we will not send them any of the remaining milestone sequences. Instead, we will put them into an ascension sequence, right? If you choose to do so. So this is how the diagram of this works. It's very, very simple. You basically have 2 boxes, right? And I'll show you how to build this in just a minute. I just wanted to give you the overview of how it worked. There we go. Okay, you essentially have 2 boxes. So box number 1 is your reminder series. As soon as they click the link in the reminder series, they go into box number 2, which is the milestone series. And if they buy, they're taken out of the milestone series, right? And they can be placed into ascension or whatever you want them to do. So it's very, very easy technologically and mechanically to set up. So you might be wondering, okay, well, let's say I had 10,000 people opt in this month to get my free stuff and only 3,000 of them actually clicked to go see milestone video number 1. What do I do with the remaining 7? That's a good question. There is lots of stuff to be done with the remaining 7. But first, we're going to build this sequence because this is going to be your immediate money getter for you. And everything else is kind of going to piggyback off of this strategy. So, how do we build this? Well, there are multiple tools you can use. The one that I use, and I've been using since 2008, is a CRM system called Infusionsoft. That's how I'm going to show you how to set everything up because that's what I use personally. If you are new and don't have any autoresponder or any CRM, I strongly suggest you check Infusionsoft out. If you're using a different CRM and you're not amazed by them, I strongly suggest you check Infusionsoft out. However, please understand that none of this is dependent on your use of Infusionsoft. You can also do this very same thing if you use Office Autopilot, if you use One Shopping Cart. You can kind of do it if you use something very basic like Aweber, but you need a plugin. I believe that's called AW Tools or AW Pro Tools. I'll look it up for you here in a second, right? But because I'm most familiar with Infusionsoft, I'll show you how to do it in that application. The important thing to understand is that whatever you use isn't nearly as important as the fact that you simply structure it this way. They come into your sequence, they immediately get the reminder sequence. If they click the reminder sequence, they're placed into the milestone sequence. After they buy, they're taken out of the milestone sequence and they're placed into another sequence, likely Ascension or a thank you sequence or whatever. If they never click the reminder sequence, then they are put into another reminder sequence for something else, another piece of content. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Okay, so let's walk to the mechanical part of it on the computer. We'll get this sucker built. You'll be off to the races. After we do this, you can start sending traffic like today. You can build all of this stuff today because this is actually the easy part. You've done the hard part already, building the videos and building the pages and all of that kind of stuff. This is actually pretty simple, as you're about to discover, because Infusionsoft has a cool little secret weapon called the Campaign Builder, which allows us to sort of drag and drop stuff without having to really be that good at anything. It's wonderful. Okay, so I'll see you at the computer and we'll crank this puppy out.
And here we go. Okay, so welcome to Infusionsoft. If you'll remember, in Module 2, which was last week, we created... Oh, hang on here. I need to bring this little screen over for you. We created this guy. Or rather, we watched this guy. And you might not have seen it because you might not have been thinking about Infusionsoft at that time. But in video 7B of last week, I showed you how to create a super basic campaign in Infusionsoft. And by super basic, I mean when someone opts in, send them an email that says, hey, thanks for opting in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pick up where we left off last week with this campaign. So I had created this campaign called List Class Demo. If you need a walkthrough of how to set this up, it's literally like 10 seconds or something. It's very simple. You can just go watch that 7B from last week. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this and we're going to make it not so basic anymore. All right. So along with this video, I have also created for you this guy, this little process map here. It's below the video, should be. Anyway, if you don't see it, just email Gerald. We'll get it right over to you. But this is a more legible version and like a take-home version of what I had drawn for you on the whiteboard here. So we're going to build this right now. And this is very, very simple. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit this campaign we created. So when you go into a campaign, you have two views, performance and edit. The performance view means how many people are in what part of your campaign for any time duration. We're not going to mess with that right now. We're just going to click on edit. So what we want to do is we want to make it to where if someone opts in, they're going to get your Goodwill reminder series, right? And that is this portion right here of our little process map. And then we're going to make it, if they click on any of the links in the reminder series, they're going to be removed from the reminder series and they're going to be placed in the Goodwill series. And if they buy anything, they're going to be placed into another series. So we're going to build this framework right now. And it's going to be easy and you're going to love having this as part of your business. So first thing we're going to do, we don't need to mess with this because we know that we've already created the opt-in form. We know we've integrated that thing with Infusionsoft. And we know all that is well and good, and we're ready to rumble. By the way, I promised you something earlier, and I almost forgot about it. I did look up the Aweber version of what we're doing in Infusionsoft. It's called AW Pro Tools, and it's basically does much of this same stuff, but for Aweber. I don't think it has the drag and drop capabilities that Infusionsoft does, which in my opinion makes it so easy. and it's likely not as robust. But if you don't feel like investing in Infusionsoft, I don't want you to think that you have to in order to be able to utilize this sort of technique. You certainly don't. You could use AW Pro Tools and get similar, if not identical, results. So let's get to work. So we know they've opted in right here, and we know that as it sits right now, they're placed in this basic follow-up form, which says, here's your email, thank you so much, and then, hey, you can go watch the video and stuff. Well, we're going to create a different follow-up sequence. So actually, we're going to create two. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'll click on delete, that's fine. And I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'm going to click on OK to delete that. So now we have a clean slate. We're going to say, what do we want to happen when somebody opts in? So first, let's build the framework. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create the sequence, right? So this is all the stuff that happens after they opt in. And there are two parts of our sequence. We have the reminder sequence and we have the video sequence, right? The actual goodwill sequence. So this is going to be the reminder sequence. So we're just going to call it reminder. Now, what's cool about Infusionsoft is in order to put emails and stuff in the sequence, all you do is double click this and then just drag and drop these little envelopes to stick your emails in there. It's amazing, but I jump ahead. First, let's build the framework. Now, we want to send them reminder emails until they click to go watch the video. So what do we need? You remember from the whiteboard section? We need a terminator, right? We need something that's going to tell Infusionsoft to stop reminding them and start sending them the actual videos 2, 3, and 4, etc. So that's really simple. What we do is a beginning of a sequence and the end of a sequence. They're always referred to as goals within Infusionsoft. And I always use this other goal here because you can sort of select whatever you want. So actually, nope, I'm sorry, for this one, I'm not going to use the other. I'm going to use purchases. Oh, nope, sorry, we're not at the purchase phase yet. We are. So I'm going to use the other. Pay no mind to the confused man on the video. I'm going to use the other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say anyone who is tagged as having clicked a link in here, we're not going to send them this anymore, and we're going to send them a different sequence instead. Well, how do we do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the tag. Now, let me tell you what a tag means. A tag is essentially a way to segment your list, and that's also how AW Pro Tools works. It tags subscribers. So whenever someone takes an action in Infusionsoft and also using AW Pro Tools, and to a degree some of the other CRMs as well, you can tag them. And then when you tag them, you can cause another autoresponder to be deployed. When you tag them, you can cause another autoresponder to be stopped. You can grant them access to it's unbelievable, right? So instead of having to create new lists and stuff, we simply create tags. And we say, okay, everyone who gets this tag, we want them to do this. Really, really easy. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to this. Now what this means is that as soon as this goal is achieved, we'll set the goal in a minute, this is going to stop, right? That's all this means. So this little purple thing right here means that a tag is applied, okay? So I'll just double click on it to show you. We can also say this goal is achieved whenever a user does all manner of other stuff, like purchases a product, opts into another web form, completes a task, all kinds of stuff, right? Well, we're going to say applies a tag. Now, the user himself or herself does not apply the tag. I'll click on save. There we go. The system applies the tag. So now the question is, well, what tag is going to be applied? Well, it could be anything we want, right? So all you do is you just click on the big circle here twice. So you double click it. And then we can actually create the tag on the fly. So let's call this list class demo. This is how I do all of my tagging. I'll have a big category, and then I'll do a little arrow, and then I'll say what the tag is. So it's in the campaign of list class demo, and this tag is going to be clicked reminder series. And this means if anybody, and first I click on create, and now I'll click on save. So this means anyone who clicks the link in here gets this tag, and automatically, if they click on day 1, they're not going to get day 2, 3, etc., right? So I'm just going to call this one clicked link, right? So that's pretty easy, right? Now, but what do we do when they click the link? Well, we stopped sending them this, but now we want to add them to another sequence. So check this out. We're just going to place another sequence right here in this campaign. Now, what has to happen to start and stop a sequence? A goal must be achieved, right? Or in the case of stopping a sequence, you simply run out of things to send them. So if you only program the sequence to send 3 emails, it's not going to keep sending stuff after the 3rd email, obviously, right? So but what has to happen to start a sequence? Well, a goal must be achieved. That goal can be opting in, that goal can be purchasing something, that goal can be the application of a tag. So check this out. Now it's time to create our goodwill sequence itself, right? The goodwill series. So here's what we're going to do. First, I'm just going to drag this thing. We'll add the emails later. Let's say goodwill series. And what are we going to do to start it? Well, always have to have a goal to start it. So over here on the right, and you can move this menu anywhere you want, by the way. I just keep it over here. Over here on the right, I'm going to take other. I'm just going to drag it as the start. And it's preset as a tag is applied, right? So I don't have to mess with this, but I do have to tell it what tag. So I'm going to say, okay, as soon as the tag is applied, that series is going to start, right? So instead of me having to type it out, look, remember what we called it? It was list class demo something. It kind of pre-populates it here. So all I got to do is select this and click save. So that means, and now I connect the two here. Now what does this mean? This means that someone opts in, immediately upon opting in, the reminder sequence will start. Immediately upon clicking one of the links in the reminder sequence, this is going to stop, and now the goodwill series is going to start. Isn't that cool? And then the other thing we finally need is a terminator for the goodwill series. So if you'll remember from our good old-fashioned handy-dandy flowchart right here, oops, I have to minimize this window for you to show you the flowchart. Hang on just a sec. Come on, window. Minimize for me. There we go. Good deal. Okay. In order for this to stop, they need to buy, right? That's the terminator. So as soon as they buy, we're going to stop sending them these videos because we don't want to bother them. Well, this is really, really easy to do. So the way we do it is we simply add another goal. Now, you can do this 2 ways. You can do other, like I'm going to do. First of all, we always want to make sure these are connected, and we know it is a tag. So we don't want the tag, we want it to be makes a purchase, right? So we can say, double click that purple thing, and instead of saying when a user applies a tag, we can say when a user purchases a product, okay? Now the thing is that it could be any product here. So you gotta be careful. If you have a lot of products, then that could mess you up. So the alternative, if you have more than one product, is to actually go over here on the right in your goals, and one of them is simply purchases online, all right? So I'll make this all nice and symmetrical here. Connect them, and then we want to say, well, purchases what? Well, it's a specific product purchase. In this case, I'm just going to select one, right? We'll just say mass conversion. There we go. So if they purchase mass conversion, then they won't get this. So that means now we're A to Z. All we have to do is now add the emails. We've built the infrastructure. So literally, I mean, there was no programming. There was nothing difficult involved in this at all, right? We simply came over here and sort of built this little framework, which was very, very simple. So they opt in here. They immediately get the reminder sequence, which we'll build in a second. If they click the link, this will stop. They'll be added to the goodwill sequence. If they buy, they won't get the goodwill sequence emails anymore. So you know this video might be a little bit long. How about this? So let's just go ahead. We'll stop here, and I'll just meet you in the very next video, and we'll continue right where we left off. I want to make this a small file size for you so it doesn't bog down your computer, all right? So I'll see you in the next video.